Cen X, real talk
at the heart of your community.
Back to the Centric Podcast. I'm here today with Remmi, and we're going to speak about fashion and the green agenda. So Remmi, just a bit about you, your journey to Centric, before Centric, and just your role at Centric now.
I started Centric last year around August, September. Before that, I was at uni. I went to Loughborough Uni and I studied sports science with management. It wasn't something I wanted to do towards the end. I kind of fell out of love with sports science, sort of second year when things went a bit crazy with like COVID. And I studied it for at least 5 years at that point. So, because I studied it in college as well. And also I do have a sports background as well, hence why I did sports science at a competitive level as well. But I stopped sport and then I studied. And then halfway through, I kind of realised, like, I'm into fashion, creative stuff. Like, anything creative I'm really into, like arts, fashion, music. And it's something I've always sort of, like, immersed myself in. So sort of halfway through second year, I was like, I kind of want to maybe get into that afterwards. But beforehand, I was thinking about maybe doing a master's in sports science. Then it came towards the end of second year, and me and my friend decided we want to start maybe venturing into the creative scene. So I directed, jumping forward to year 3 of uni, I directed my first music video. And I started doing more creative stuff, going to events. And then me and my friend set up a creative company. We're relaunching soon, actually. That's how I sort of got into the creative scene. And then I realised I need to get a job in it. So I started looking in social media and all that type of stuff. And then I came across, I've always known Sean.
Yeah.
So he sort of was interested in what I've been doing. He was like, you need to jump on board. We've got Cen X going on. So I had a meeting with him and he was amazed by like what I was talking about. And I thought it was just normal stuff that I was just talking about. Nothing like too serious or too interesting. But he really liked it. So he was like, can I like offer you like a role? So I started doing that. And then since then I've just been at Centric ever since. So I started off with Cen X, which is like the youth division. And then I moved into Centric as well, and now I'm an executive assistant and creative. So that's a bit about me.
Love that. And so just back on like uni quickly, You say you come from a sports background, so like what were you doing at a competitive level?
Oh, basically it's quite, I don't know can you guess? I did actually karate.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, fighting sport, yeah. So I did...
beating people up?
Yeah, I did that for GB. And England, under 18s. I did it competitively for 5 years. I travelled around the world. I went to Switzerland, I went to Greece. Yeah, so I've travelled. That's how I kind of got to see the world a bit, actually, as well, through sport. It's pretty good. And then, I really enjoyed it a lot. Like, I was hoping to maybe even go to Japan, travel to places like Ukraine, Russia, because they're, the people best known for, the fight sport. But I kind of, there was a lot of politics within the sport, and also it's quite hard as a woman to make money in those type of sports. As you may know, people are only just getting paid for football, girls. So it was quite hard getting sponsorship and all that type of stuff. And I felt like I was missing out slightly because I was always I missed out on those it's kind of rubbish, but parties. And I wanted to kind of know what I wanted to do first.
Yeah.
So and I just got a bit old and I was like, I don't know if I want to commit to something like this. I ended up also playing netball for 2 years as well for Loughborough. So that was also something that I was interested in. And then I was like, okay, cool, let me maybe just go into behind the scenes of sport, hence why I started doing sports science.
Fair enough. And then you also spoke about a company that you set up. What was that company and
so
what was the...
Originally we were called Light Lab. It's a creative agency and we basically help help people with their vision in terms of whether it's music, fashion, arts. So helping to creatively direct things. So it could be campaigns, anything to do with fashion, anything that's creative, and we can help almost bring your vision to life. So we set that up, but we ended up changing the name and rebranding completely. So we're just in the process of that now, and we're hoping to relaunch this year.
Love that.
Thank you.
And then, so you've ended up, you spoke to Sean, and now you're part of Centric, and you said you started off at Cen X, and now you're actually with Centric. Mm-hmm. So what was the first project, let's say, that you got involved in?
It actually was sort of the early stages of the AP Fashion Project, so Air Pollution Fashion Project. So that was doing the interviews earlier on, and also I was helping at the time Jordan with random work. So I was doing admin work, I was in meetings, I was just talking to people and just getting a feel for just Centric and Cen X. and also doing a bit of work for Sean as well. And then I did a lot of the interviews and I got them done really quickly. And then I started planning some of the like possible events we could do and also doing outreach.
Mm-hmm. And then just before I talk about like get into like the fashion and green agenda project, what is different between the Remmi before Centric and the Remmi now?
Oh, that's a good question. Probably a little bit more organised. Before I wasn't quite organised, and like my structure to my day was a bit sporadic. I think that's because of uni. But I'd say I'm a bit more, I guess, mature. I feel like I've like left uni now and I'm quite like a bit more serious, a bit more calmer.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just feel a bit more mature, a bit more of an adult now, I guess.
No, fair enough. And then just the fashion. So now you're working on the fashion project and sustainability stuff. Mm-hmm. So when I say fashion to you, what does that mean? Like just the word fashion?
I feel like expression. Like for me, fashion's a big part of my life too. Like it's something in a way of like it just makes you feel good. Like I love putting on outfits together, but there's also like two sides to the coin because right now, the fashion, like the era that we're living in now, fashion is not so great for the world as well. Which is something that I've discovered. Just in terms of like, I don't know if you heard of waste colonialism and the whole sustainable stuff. Like since doing the centric work, it's made me realise like there's a dark side to it as well.
Yeah.
So, but at the same time, I still see it in a good light, which is obviously creative expression, culture, bringing people together. But I think now it's just opened my eyes to like the other sort of side to fashion as well.
And would you delve in a little bit on the other sides and sort of what you've discovered sort of now doing this work?
Yeah, so obviously recently we've been doing working in sustainability in fashion, and we've been looking into waste colonialism, which is basically when people been dumping clothes in places where they can't really afford to remove it or dumping it without their permission really. So right now Ghana is a country which is suffering from the effects of waste colonialism, and you can literally see if you Google it like mountainous like piles of clothes like
I've seen the pictures.
Yeah,
it's quite bad.
it's awful.
Yeah.
And it's literally getting dumped on people's beaches, their homes. It's probably not just in Ghana, it's probably in Asia as well. There's a lot of places, and it's places like H&M, Shein, even designer brands that are dumping it and not actually claiming it as theirs. So, and also people dying in factories like Bangladesh, which is like my home country as well. Like people have died from awful working conditions, buildings collapsing, probably people as well, the fact that even when I went, this is like probably like a decade ago now, and you can see the dye in the water, like in the rivers. So stuff like that, and that's all to do with fashion as well. So it comes at a cost really. And I'm not saying that you have to think about it all the time, because with anything there's always like a flip side to it, but I think sometimes you need to be aware. So I think since doing this project and looking into fashion a bit more, it's more about opening your eyes and being a bit more conscious
about what's going on.
Yeah.
So then so for you, fashion and the green agenda, how is that now coming together in the project? Like what work is being done within the project?
So at the moment, we've just been looking at, so there's two things actually. We've been, one, looking at air pollution and climate change just within the local community. And then we've also been looking at air pollution and sustainability. But that goes in hand because we're trying to currently educate people on like what's going on in the world with air pollution, and just in the community as well, air pollution, and then also messaging. So we've been trying to use clothes as a way to spread knowledge and push out messaging for people in terms of how they can basically amplify their voice, how they can almost just get their point across really using clothes. I mean, as you can, like when you look at all clothes, like designer brands like Off-White always has like big strong like logos, Supreme, and we've kind of been taking inspo from that and looking at how we can use that but in a more positive way, I guess. So using more political maybe messaging or just expressing what they feel.
Okay, and do you think, so from your opinion, can you send a message through your clothes and what you wear?
Oh yeah, definitely. Just by, you don't even have to have messaging or any slogans just to send a message about who you are, what you believe in. I mean, like when you look at certain people, whether it's tracksuits or like a Rastafari wearing literally his colours, like you can tell who they are.
Yeah.
And even if like you wear all pink, you maybe can tell, oh, that person's really girly. Like you kind of judge by what people wear anyway. Not to say that it actually means that that's who they are, but you normally judge by
a judgment
yeah.
Pretty quick, yeah. And then so what is the plan now for the project, the fashion project, and what is the plan moving forward with it?
So far we've been just been looking at, so currently we did a little conference / event at South London University. And what we did, we just spoke about Cen Giving, which is our charity that we're also really pushing for, because that's also like part of our project, which is obviously funding people in Ghana to clean up the beaches. And we've also been making a jacket, well, that's been finished. So Dana and Elle made like a jacket out of like sustainable materials using denim, and we basically designed it. Like I made a mood board, and then Dana like did the designs, and it's basically like a jacket that represents sort of like what we stand for, and then there's loads of different messaging on it, and it's all made using sustainable materials. So that was like our way of getting into the fashion so far. So that's like our first piece. I think they're planning on making like a jacket or trousers, something like that. So that's what we've been doing really, and we're hoping to just do more, collaborate. I think Pappy's also his clothing line. We're trying to do some sort of collaboration. The aim is to really just use our messaging and our research and our knowledge and merge that with fashion. So hopefully we'll be working with a few more cool organisations. I've been doing a bit of outreach to other organisations, and we've got a good response so far. So we're hoping with that we can just collaborate, make more. We're also in contact with a woman from Paris who's a designer, and we also want to try and work out how we can use the dumped plastic and waste into clothes, because it's possible. I mean, you've probably seen like people have managed to use like plastic like shavings and stuff into actual objects. So we're hoping with the clothes
you can do the same sort of thing. Okay, and why, for you, why is like this important? Like, why is this important to you?
I'd say this is important to me because it's just a chance for me to learn more and become more aware. I feel like sometimes we try to almost like hide away from like the reality of things, and that is one of the realities. And I feel like air pollution, climate change, just all of this in general, and the whole sustainable like green agenda is something that we actually need to open our eyes to. I mean, I'm not saying every day you have to think about it, but at the same time, it's good to be aware of these things because it does affect us in some way.
We just don't know it.
Yeah. I mean, now we need to start knowing about it.
Yeah, to be fair, like with all that like air pollution and like even like the clothes, until I seen the pictures of them, it's like something you hear about or you sort of know about, but like
you don't know
it's not gonna
do.
Yeah, like I'm not gonna, not in a bad way, but I'm not gonna do anything different in my life about it. You know what I mean? But definitely, I think even like the little bits like I've seen from the project, it's eye opening, and like you sort of become a bit more cautious of what you're doing, I guess.
Like me, I've even tried to limit like where I buy certain things from. Even kind of before the project, I was starting to do that, but now I've made a more conscious decision. It's more to do with also just quality of stuff as well. Like when you buy things from fast fashion brands, it's not great and it doesn't last long, and you end up chucking it away.
Anyway, and then that's it. And you don't know what gets done with it, really.
Yeah, exactly. When you wear high quality stuff, yes, it's a bit more, which is another thing we've been talking about, which is like how can we, like some people are struggling to make ends meet, and you're trying to tell people to be sustainable. So it's like that's another sort of thing that we're trying to overcome, which is how can we make things more cheaper, or how can people be more sustainable and think more consciously without having to break the bank as well.
Yeah. And how do you think that can be done? Because obviously the more sustainable stuff is generally going to cost more. So is there a plan around that, or a strategy maybe that could be used?
We haven't been looking at that like completely, but I do think there's probably ways, which is obviously buying from charity, buying on places like Depop, Vinted. But in terms of like actual shops itself or brands, there probably may be a way. I'm not too sure how, because obviously you can't buy things too cheap because then it becomes unsustainable and you're not paying people properly. But I'd like to hope that maybe there's a way we can get around it. Maybe not us directly, but people can, in terms of who are trying to be more sustainable and like have brands.
Yeah. And then just because you said that you originally was doing like work with Cen Ethics and things like that, like the youth side. So how does the youth come into this project, and is that on the agenda? Is there a plan for youth to be more involved? Well,
youth is really like the whole thing around this, because they are the future. Like, it's not going to be the people in their 70s that inherit the rest of the world. They're literally on their way out. So it's like it's going to be us that are going to inherit the world and have to suffer from the consequences of what's been going on for the last few decades. So I think what we're trying to do is use the youth, because they're the ones that will talk more, spread the message more. They know how to utilise social media more, and just I feel like this generation has been a bit more vocal. So I think that's why we're trying to put youth as the forefront for this project.
Okay. And what is the plan on sort of reaching out to these youth or getting them more involved?
It's just using more, so this is where I come with my creative brain, having to use more creative strategies, whether that's, obviously we have social media, but events, things that will entice people to listen, because you can't just these days, you can't just hand out a leaflet and be like, oh, just come to this event or listen to this. No one really cares about stuff like that, and it's low-key unsustainable as well. But I'd say things like trying to host events, using things that people like, so fashion, of course, which is a talking point, even things like food or games, social media, and just places that people can feel comfortable in expressing themselves. So that's sort of our strategy, using music, fashion, arts, just anything creative really to sort of, I guess, gain the trust of the youth and sort of open eyes a little bit.
And what would you say, can be your vision or the company's vision? What would you say, the end goal is for this?
I think for this specific project, really, in terms of the end goal, because there's loads of different end goals for everything that we're doing, but I'd say for this one specifically, it's trying to spread the word as much and almost see, I guess, maybe whether that's brands, local authority, also change the way they use their strategies currently for the green agenda. And also just, you can just see as a collective, the community are just doing a bit more. I think that's the goal. And also just more conversation about it, because right now there's not much conversation. So eventually the goal is to have people talk about it so much you can't hide it from.
Yeah, it's just there. You're not going to be able to ignore it.
It's just a normal conversation that you normally have about the news, music, whatever, sport.
And with you, is there any other projects as well that you're currently involved in?
Yeah, there's a few. So I'm doing the Yuki project, as you probably know, because you're also in that one as well. So gaming, I'm hoping that we can sort of take it further there, because VR gaming is really big right now. And it would be really good to try and get more people of colour, so Black and Asian minorities, into the gaming industry, because I feel like a lot of people like us grew up on watching people play games. You see people like KSI that are massive now. And it'd be really good if we could have more kids into content creation, because in America it's massive. And there's a lot of middle class white people, because they can afford the consoles and stuff like that. So I'm hoping there's a way that we can sort of almost fund people's sort of journey for content creation and VR and all that type of stuff. So that's one thing we're doing. And then Amplifying Voices, which is a project that I'm PMing, so project managing currently, and it's coming towards the end stages. And that was basically just a project on amplifying the voices of the community in terms of, again, climate change and air pollution, and educating people. So yeah, that's what I've been doing.
And just on you, that I'd like to know, at any point whilst you've been working for Centric, or any meetings or any projects you've been involved in, have you been nervous about them?
Yeah, there's been times where I've been a bit nervous, but at the same time, I feel like it depends. When I was first sort of starting and having to talk a bit more, because obviously Sean pushed me to talk a bit more, a little bit, just because I don't know if they would like what I'd have to say. I'm quite straightforward, so it's
get to the point.
Yeah, I get to the point quite a bit, and also I'm the youngest as well in the team, so sometimes I think you're either gonna think, I don't know, I just feel like they'll be a bit more judgmental, but I don't really care at the end of the day either. Yeah. But it's just more they probably think, oh, this girl's just arrogant, or she's just young, she don't know what she's talking about, when I feel like I really do know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel in that, so just I'm nervous, it's more a case of just not knowing their reaction or what they think of my ideas, because sometimes I feel not to say that but obviously there is a different mix of ages, so sometimes the ideas that I come out with are really new to them.
Yeah.
So that's hoping that people get on board with it a little bit. So I think that's sort of maybe some difficult challenges I've had. But apart from that, I'm not too nervous. I'd like to say I'm a pretty confident person. Not too much though, but yeah.
Fair enough. And on your goals, personal goals with Centric, what would you like to get out of this?
I guess for me, it's to develop all areas of my skill sets, and even just develop a few more. Since then, I've been doing random things like graphic design. I wasn't doing that before. I made a fashion lookbook. That was something I've never done, and I've been using Canva a bit more. I think the goal is to just basically be able to say that I've covered loads of projects and help Centric in terms of all the creative outputs, and almost get them to a point where it's like people know them a bit more, because we've worked with so many different organisations, brands, and just different people.
And they've just got no choice but to know.
Yeah, basically.
That's good. But yeah, thank you, Remmi.
Thank you.
I appreciate your time. And yeah, great podcast. And hopefully we can do another one soon.
Definitely, you'll see me more soon.
That's it. Thank you guys for listening. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. And yeah, we'll see you soon.
Cen X, real talk
at the heart of your community.